The National Day of Remembrance highlights a controversial issue in the country, gun control. Wendy Cukier is the president and founder of the Coalition for Gun Control. She joins us now. Wendy, we had some debate today in the House of Commons. I'm not sure if you were able to listen to it, but the Conservative government is looking at recommendations that would loosen Canada's gun legislation based on a report that they got from a committee, an advisory committee. What is your reaction to that?
Well, it's the same group of gun activists that have really been involved in this debate for almost 20 years. What's different now is that government advisory committees, even under Kim Campbell, used to include representation from groups like the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, the Canadian Police Association, public health experts, and violence against women experts. And we're in a situation now where the only people giving advice to the federal government are gun owners, gun sellers, gun advocates. And we've seen the same thing at the United Nations. Those are the only people who are now included in the international discussions on preventing the illegal trading in firearms. The Canadian government used to have a much more balanced approach to the issue.
Well, I guess I will ask you then, does it hearten you to hear that when Bob Rae, the interim Liberal leader, stood up and said, well, yeah, what about these people? Why aren't all these other people represented on a committee like that? Prime Minister Stephen Harper said, yeah, you're right. Does that make you feel better, like that might actually happen and the committee might sort of change its makeup?
Well, that would certainly be a step forward, but remember that not only has the Conservative government ended the registration of rifles and shotguns, but they destroyed the records of 6 million rifles and shotguns that were registered, and they eliminated the requirement that had been in place since 1977 that gun sellers had to keep track of guns. So we're in a very precarious situation right now in Canada with respect to the controls on firearms, and the prospect of these controls being weakened even further should really cause Canadians concern.
Well, I think it was Vic Taves today, Minister Taves, saying or pointing to the fact that gun crime, violent gun crime, is down, he says, because of, or pointing to the success of the fact that violent gun crime is down. Do you see things the same way? Is that sort of your experience, what you're hearing, research you're seeing?
Absolutely. Gun homicide, gun death and injury are the lowest they've been in 50 years, and that's largely due to the stronger controls on firearms. Public health experts and criminologists agree that stronger controls have had a dramatic impact, not just on violence against women, not just on crime generally, but also on suicide, particularly involving youth. So the fact that the laws have been working so well makes us particularly concerned over the moves to dismantle them. It's preposterous. I mean, when we started, 1,400 Canadians were killed every year with firearms. It's down to 800. The laws have worked very, very, very well. There is absolutely no rationale for having dismantled the registration of firearms, and certainly there is no rationale for further weakening the laws.
The Conservative MP Eve Adams stated no connection between violence against women and gun controls. How do you respond to that?
Well, there's been very strong evidence of a lack of concern for fact, a lack of concern for science in many of the policies that have been developed by this government. All I can say is in 1991, 1,400 Canadians were killed with gunshots. Last year it was fewer than 800. We have not seen the same kind of dramatic decline in crimes involving other weapons. So if you look at robberies with guns, they're down much more than robberies with other means. If you look at homicides with rifles and shotguns, they've plummeted. If you look at murders of women with guns, they've fallen by 2/3, and murders of women with other means have not fallen as quickly. The data is pretty clear.
All right, Wendy Cukier, that is all the time we have, but thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.